You're listening to the Awaken broadcast with Cecilia Angel, a space for embodied awakening, honest human conversation, and a living, breathing connection to God's source. This is your invitation to awaken. Hello and welcome back to the Awaken broadcast. I'm your host, Cecilia Angel. I am a spiritual mentor and professional channel. And last week I recorded this episode. It wasn't this episode. It was some other episode that will never see the light of day because I forgot to turn my microphone on. And then just now, I recorded like 30 minutes of this podcast episode. Didn't hit record. That's okay. You know what? Actually, I was sitting here trying to record, trying to talk about the same thing that I talked about last week and just totally hitting a wall. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I want to talk about something different, and I don't really have a plan for what else to talk about today. And yet what felt alive last week just doesn't really feel all that alive today. So, I don't know. We're starting again, completely from scratch, actually recording this time. We're just going to flow with it. I don't know. I think that's a better thing for me to do. I was sitting here literally being like, this whole topic, maybe I'll cover it a different day, Or I don't know. It's going to require, if I were to try to use the episode from last week, which was really good, by the way, I don't personally have the audio editing skills to be able to draw, because I forgot to turn my microphone on. It recorded through my laptop. So the audio is bleh, bleh. It's not good. It's not good audio. So I can't edit it. I can't be the one to do that because I don't have the skills for that. And maybe at some point I'll get someone else to do it. I don't know if it's even recoverable. Does it matter? I don't think it matters. But I will say that it did throw me off more than I would have liked it to. And it's not even like I have not had something like that happen before. I've been doing masterclasses and recording things online for years. There have been several occasions, more than several occasions, where I have completely delivered an entire channeled masterclass and then realized I wasn't recording or something happened with the audio or whatever. It just happened just now. So that's just part of creation. And I imagine that people coming into my field, I imagine a lot of you are creators in some sense. And so this is kind of just part of it. You're going to sometimes create something, speak into the void, and no one will ever hear it. I've also been doing that for the last 30 minutes. So we're starting again. And I'm trusting in myself. I'm actually going to put this down a little bit more. I'm trusting in myself to deliver this flawlessly. I'm trusting that this is the episode that you are always meant to receive. Also, got a new table. It's actually a stool, but I got a new table. I put crystals on it just to make it pretty. That's it. That's the only reason I put crystals here. I love crystals because they're beautiful. I will say that if you, and this is just a quick tip, a pro tip, if you be buying crystals, clear them. Energetically clear them. You don't know. Crystals hold a lot of information. They hold a lot of energy. If somebody gives you a crystal, if you go to a store and you buy a crystal, before you put it up in your space, hold it, Pray with it, sing into it, set your intentions with it. Say return to sender, any other energy that might be attached to it, so that it's crystal clear. That's one of the biggest hangups people have. That's why people who have an issue with the New Age are always like, these crystals, the crystals are of the devil. It's because crystals are very absorbent. They absorb consciousness. So you have to be mindful, be intentional. But also, they're really pretty. I like them a lot. They make my room sparkle and shine. You know, in the last episode that I did record and can't use, I went on a whole tear about the modern day witch hunt, New Age versus Christians that's happening right now, which is just the age-old, I want to say battle of the bands, I don't know why. The age-old battle of the bands of the pagans versus the Christians. We're still playing out these pagans with their earth-based rituals, these Christians and their idol of Jesus. God, it's 2026, man. Can we just get along? Like, come on. It's not about New Age or Christianity. It's about your intention, which has nothing to do with any particular spiritual path. Because I have walked into churches and into Christian spaces where there are really solid, beautiful people who really understand the true path of Jesus, who loved everyone, no matter who you were, no matter what your beliefs, no matter how you were acting or being, Jesus loves you. And they understand that. And then I've met Christians that are some of the biggest assholes on planet Earth, that do really mean, cruel things, that are very judgmental, that cause all kinds of chaos and trauma, that have historically caused the most pain on this planet, who've been trying to conquer the world with their religion and telling anyone who doesn't follow that path that they are of the devil and they are blasphemous. I just can't get behind that. I can't. I will not. I refuse to. I love Jesus. I'm devoted. Jesus walks with me every single moment, but I don't vibe with this judgmental, fear-ridden, fearful narrative that's just being spewed by modern-day Christians, especially if you have gone through the transition of New Age to Christianity. Oh my God.
When I was in the New Age, I was seeing all the different pathways that the devil was getting into me, and all these things in the light language and all the crystals and the tarot. I have repented, and I am now... And now I go on the internet, and I warn people. I warn people about the dangers of the New Age.
Now, you hear this? That does not mean that there are no dangers of the New Age. Because the New Age is pretty experimental. New Age spirituality, a lot of people are messing with things that they don't understand. And that is true. That's where that narrative comes from. Is that there's just a bunch of people that are connecting to multidimensional beings and expanding into the quantum and speaking in light language, and they have no idea, talking to their guides and whoever, and they don't know who and what they're connecting to. This actually is dangerous. Yes, and. Yes, and. And so I can see both sides, but then I've also met people who walk a more New Age aligned path that are some of the most sparkling, shiny, love-infused, joy-ridden, kind, warm, loving humans I've ever met that really, really, really get it. So can we play in the realm of nuance yet? Can we start to release our judgments and our finger pointing and our demonization of one another? Because I've also met people in the New Age that are so distorted and completely disconnected from their body. They're trying to ascend to whatever dimension beyond this one and totally bypassing their human experience, disconnected from their body, ungrounded, chaotic. Yeah. And I say this as somebody who's walked both paths and then some. You know, I'm a seeker through and through. I'm not afraid to go looking around, seeing all the places where I can find God. And in my seeking, I've discovered some universal truths that have been really helpful to me. I've said it before, I don't resonate with the New Age necessarily. There are things about the New Age that I actually really appreciate. Like I speak in light language and stuff, you know? And the light language that comes through me comes from the unified field of God. That's it. I'm not messing in other dimensions. Because the only thing I found there was chaos. I don't mess about. Only God for me, thanks. The pure love of God. The pure presence of God. The unified field of God, because God is all things. And that is true. But there's a difference between connecting with the fractured, distorted, separated versions of God, like looking at just a portion of God, and then connecting to the unified field of all consciousness. Totally different experience. One will breed chaos and distortion and will probably make your life worse, not better. The other will bring you into peace and harmony and connection to life and love and joy and presence. Big difference. And this is why so many people hear this. There are so many people that are making the switch from New Age to Christianity because when you start to connect with the spirit of Jesus Christ, who was somebody who understood relationship with the unified field, which is not chaotic, when you have been involved in the New Age, trying to connect to God from there, and then you start to relate to Jesus Christ, what he starts to do is he starts to reorganize your field so that you can come into relationship with God's source, the love of God's source. That's what happens when you speak Jesus' name. He's been encoded in our consciousness for that purpose. It's actually one of the greatest life hacks that we have ever been offered. And yet it's so polarizing. It's so polarizing. Because there's two camps of people. There's the people that they hear Jesus' name and they run for the hills. They're like, absolutely fucking not. No way. Not for me. You said the J word? Oh my God, no. And then there's people who hear Jesus' name and they are like, oh, right. I remember. And they remember the truth of God. And this is why we talk about Jesus as the shepherd that leads the sheep to pasture. Is that the name of Jesus is coded, C-O-D-E-D, coded, to harmonize your frequency out of chaos, to lift you up past all the distorted dimensions, all the chaos dimensions, like an elevator, up into the unified field, which is peaceful and calm and loving. It's a great trick. And you know what? If you're hearing this and you are somebody who hears the name of Jesus and is like, this girl's talking about Jesus, I cannot. I'm leaving this video right now. That's okay. I mean, if that really is true for you and I don't vibe with your vibe, that's okay. I'm speaking to the ones that I'm meant for, right? That might not be you, but maybe it is. And so give it a second. Close your eyes. You can just, as an experiment, ask Jesus Christ to be with you. And this won't work for everyone, but for some who are receptive, you might actually feel him. And I am in deep relationship with Jesus, and it has benefited my life significantly to allow him to be a big part of my life. And yet I don't fit the mold of traditional Christianity. In fact, I don't go to church. I don't read the Bible. I don't check the boxes of a good Christian. Do I remember many lifetimes where I was a good Christian girl devoted to Christ? Yes. Yes, indeed. I remember. In fact, so much so that I have wrestled with my current incarnation, which is more of a rainbow path of taking all of the things I have learned from many, many lifetimes and bringing it together into a masterpiece. The good Christian girl in me sees the way that I teach today, and she's like, oh, but that's not the way that we've done it. That's not how we've done it in other lifetimes. Is it okay? Is it okay for me to talk to God but not go to church every Sunday? Is it okay for me to teach about God without fitting the mold of what people are used to? And I speak to that good little Christian girl inside of me and I say, yes, it's safe. There are some people that will not like you, that will not like this, and this work is not for them. This work is for people that are open-minded enough and are so over being put in a box and just want to know what it's like to be in relationship with God already, rather than making it so complicated and having to jump through all these hoops and I have to be worthy of God and I need an intermediary. I need to outsource. I need to source outside of myself for my connection to God. No, you don't. Your body is a God-given miracle and a direct conduit for your relationship with God. You are already worthy and you are already in relationship with God. But it takes your permission to allow more of that presence to come into your life because you exist in a free will reality. The more you give permission on all levels and dimensions for the love of God to be in relationship with you, the more you will feel it. And you don't have to believe what I'm saying. Try it for yourself. Try it out. Choose to cultivate a daily practice of connecting to God. I'll tell you a funny story. There was this one night after an ayahuasca ceremony, and I had a hard night. Like, ayahuasca kicked my ass. Well, it wasn't ayahuasca. I kicked my own ass. I kicked my own ass this night. But I was tired. And I went outside, exhausted, sat down, and I looked up into the sky. And when I looked up into the sky, all I saw before me was God. And it felt casual, like we were in God's living room. And I mean, I literally saw couches with the masters sitting around. It was so casual. And I was too tired to even care how casual this felt. I just looked up to God and I said, whew, that was a lot. And God said, yeah, I see you. I see what you just went through, acknowledged me deeply, and said, for now, just be here with us. And I said, okay, thank you. And then God leans in closer. And I felt it. It was like the whole sky leaned in towards me and said, if you want, I can be here all the time. And in that moment, although it felt like truth, there was a part of me that said, yeah, but I drank ayahuasca tonight. Of course I can just talk to you in the sky. Of course there is no barrier between us right now. What about tomorrow? What about the next day? What about 3 weeks from now? Will I still feel you like this? And God said, if you want, I can be there for you every single moment. It's up to you. And I didn't fully believe it. But I thought, might as well do an experiment. For 5 months. This is how long it took for me to be actually like, oh, God meant it. To really believe. Sometimes that's how long it takes for faith to seed. We need repetition. to actually feel, because the skeptic in us, which is wisdom, it's wisdom that we feel skeptical of things. You should always ask questions. Don't just take something at face value, even anything that I'm teaching here. Don't take it at face value. Try it for yourself. Apply it in your own life. See if it works, right? Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. That's always a rule here. Or an invitation. I don't really deal in rules, but the invitation is take what resonates, leave what doesn't. If you're going to be hanging out in my world. So every single day, minimum 15 times a day, probably more than that. I would close my eyes and say, God, are you there? And every single time, without fail, I would hear, always. God, are you there? Always. God, are you there? Always. Every day. For 5 months, at least. And that doesn't mean that I stopped doing that. It just took 5 months before I was like, oh, God meant it. It wasn't just the ayahuasca. God really meant it. God is with me now. That was early 2020. There hasn't been a single moment. There hasn't been a single moment where I don't feel God with me anymore, to the point where God and I now have this inside joke, and I have so many inside jokes with God. I can't. That's the kind of relationship you can have, by the way. It doesn't have to be so serious. It could be fun. It could be silly. We now have an inside joke where sometimes I'll close my eyes and be like, God, are you there? And God will come through. Full drama. And I don't know how to explain the drama, like full color, full performance. It's a whole thing. And God says, always, my child. Always. Always. And then we laugh and be silly. Because that's the kind of relationship that I choose to have with God. I don't want dry and boring. And I want God to be with me every single moment of every single day. I want it to be my guiding light. I want to see it everywhere. I want to see it in everything. I don't want a single moment to go by that isn't God infused. Because that's what I'm choosing for myself. Because I said so. And that's enough. I command my reality with my free will and my sovereignty. And my reality is governed by the 100% unconditional love of God the Creator. Because that's the experience I want to be having. And it really is that simple. We make it so complicated because we don't believe we're worthy. We think we have to jump through all these hoops to get to God. I have to go to a priest or a teacher or somebody else. You could close your eyes right now and say, God, are you there? And if you're brave enough, you might feel that God is. God is, God is, God is. Always there. Just by nature of what it is. God is infused into all things. Now we get to choose what kind of relationship we're going to have with life. And if the word God doesn't work for you, you can call it life, nature. The organizing intelligence that animates all things, all creation. If you choose it, you could be in relationship with life itself today without any extra effort. Because life is in all things. The consciousness that creates all life, that it emerges through. I often like to say that the fact that I am conscious to any degree, or anyone is conscious to any degree, is proof enough that life itself is conscious. And then in my experimentation, over many years, after the last 15 years, experimenting, in my experimentation, I have come to recognize undeniably, and I mean in my experience, it is undeniable because it's my everyday. I have come to recognize and realize that just as I am conscious, so is all things. Because all things gave birth to conscious beings. And therefore, God itself, life itself, must be conscious. And this is what is meant by we are made in his image or its image or her image or whatever. This is what's meant by that. We are made in the image of God. And God is conscious. I even dare say God has personality and humor. The God I know is funny. Like the funniest that ever was. The jokes that God be having, the best jokes. And sometimes really simple, but sometimes God will do a bit with me for several years. And then 7 years later, I realize, oh my God, that was so intricate and dynamic, and there was so much synchronicity, and oh my God, the thing that happened to me back then now makes sense. Ha ha. That's so funny, God. That's so funny, God. And this is what has pushed me to want to put myself out on the internet, because I look around at people who be relating to God, and there's not a whole lot of people. Like, there are people out there, of course, but there's not a whole lot of people that are relating to God like this, having fun in their relationship with God, having a good time, really leaning on God, crying in the arms of God, asking God for strength, asking God for power, asking God for courage, asking God for guidance, dynamically in relationship with life itself, leaning on the support fully, and I mean fully leaning on the support of creation itself. Feeling seen by creation itself, feeling heard and witnessed by creation itself, driven by creation itself. I imagine if you're here and this video found you, you probably have some relationship to the divine, I would imagine, or you wouldn't have been recommended this video. But that's actually pretty rare. If you're hearing what I'm saying and it's resonating, you are rare. You are a rare soul. Because we're existing on a planet right now that is still lost and worshiping its separation. Lost in the dark and trying to operate from a disconnection from God, which doesn't work. It causes so much suffering. So much suffering. I know intimately because I have suffered in my life. I have known suffering, and I have known darkness and pain. And then God came to me and said, there's a different way. You know, all that chaos and distortion and pain and things working against you, and things never work out for me, and I'm not worthy, and I'm not capable, and all my limiting stories and beliefs, all of that. You actually don't have to consent to any of that. You don't have to agree to that reality at all. You could opt into a totally different reality. When God presented that to me, I was like, oh yeah. Yeah, okay. Actually, that's not entirely true. I resisted it because I didn't feel worthy. First, I resisted it and I was like, no, I can't have love. I can't have good things. Life can't be good. It has to be bad. It's the only thing I've ever known. It's familiar for things to be hard. So that was my first response. But over time, the more that God kept coming to me, and I kid you not, I kept having this vision of God literally sitting there, so cute. Cute and innocent, sweet and full of love, with a silver platter. This is another option, and it's being offered to you whenever you're ready. And every time I'd be like, well, what do I have to do for it? What's the catch-22? There has to be a catch. No catch. You can just have a good life. You can just be happy. Well, me? I don't believe you. And every time God would keep coming to me, yep, you get it all. You can have one of those really shiny lives where you get everything. Whenever you're ready, it is always being offered in every single moment. I'm just waiting for you to choose it because you have free will. You have free will. You want to have a good life, you have to choose it. That's the game. You want to be happy, you have to choose it. You want goodness, you gotta choose it. It's up to you. That is the catch-22 of this physical plane that we be playing in. That's the game. You can have anything you desire, and you can be in direct relationship with life, and you can let life bring you to life, and you can come alive in and through your body, and you can experience laughter and love and connection and goodness. But because we have emerged, we've been born, we have incarnated through generations of unconsciousness and density. Right now, we are up against patterns that are continuing to want to choose unconsciousness. Our automatic response is saying, oh, but unconsciousness. I don't want to be conscious. Feels like too much work to try to wake up. Feels like too much effort to try to change my state of being. And that's why I say it's rare for someone, especially right now. There will come a day where this will be so commonplace, where this conversation doesn't need to happen. I mean, it probably will happen. I think we'll still talk about God and all of that, but it won't be so magical and mystical. It won't be so fringe. Because people will actually start to awaken to the point where they see, oh yeah, of course God. Of course I'm in relationship to all of life. That is what is being offered to us on a silver platter right now. A new state of consciousness. Anyone who is speaking about this in the way that I am, and there's a lot of people that are, still a relatively small amount, but there are people who are talking about this. Anyone who's talking about this is God with the silver platter, saying, whenever you're ready, I promise you there's another way. We've just been asleep. We've been operating from unconsciousness. And we've been stuck in systems that keep us tired and broken and numb and disconnected, so that the people who worship separation and imbalanced power games can persist. There's nothing more rebellious, revolutionary, than choosing health and vibrance and life. To choose things that are going to bring you to life. To come awake, to become aware, to become conscious. Right now, it's super fringe to be a conscious person. And I mean, like, I know that when you are in this world, you exist in an echo chamber bubble. I get it. I understand. And there's some value to the echo chamber. There is some value to the bubble. The more that we are exposing ourselves to people that are in this world and have this understanding, the more we can actually anchor ourselves into it, and the more chance that that energy actually overflows into the community, humanity at large. But if we actually look at the collective of humanity right now, the percentage of people that are operating truly from spiritual awakening, from an awakened state, are very small. And then even smaller are the people who have a spiritual awakening and then actually integrate and embody that awakening. So there's also a whole group of people that are awakening from an intellectual level. They're reading the books, they're listening to the podcast, they can regurgitate all the information, but they haven't actually done the work to awaken themselves on a tangible physical level. So they're not actually living and breathing their realizations, which is a whole other level. And so the percentage of people doing that, even smaller. So if you are in my world, you are part of a very small percentage of people that are choosing to not only awaken, but to embody their awakening, to actually walk their talk, not to follow spirituality because it's cool and hip and pretty and sexy. It is all those things. But if you are actually sincerely following the spiritual path, it's not always going to be pretty. It's not always going to be cool. Sometimes it's messy and boring and painful and confronting and hard. And that's just true. If you can get right with that, it really does make for an interesting life. To be in relationship with consciousness itself, to be in relationship with life itself, with God's source, divine universe, whatever you want to call that. To be in connection to the unified field and to allow that to inform the way that you engage with your life every single day. I promise you from experience, that's going to give you the craziest life, like the coolest, most magical life, where every single day, miracles, synchronicity, magic. Oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. And yet I can, because I'm in alignment with my soul. And I am choosing to listen to the divine as it directs me. Every single one of us knows the voice of the divine. But most of us reject it, deny it. If God says turn left, we turn right. And then we wonder why we're suffering. Because the voice of God is the voice of life, steering us towards our aliveness. Anything that is in opposition of the thing that you think of, like the classic angel and devil on your shoulder, right? That angel voice, we could call it God, we could call conscience, we could call it the daemon, whatever you want. The wise inner voice that always knows what you should do and is always saying, this is like biologically wired for us because we are biologically wired for survival, to live. It's actually the animal in us driving us forward, saying, I want to live. And so there is a voice within us that is always giving us suggestions for our health, for our well-being, that intuition of like, I don't think I should do that. But there's so much noise. This is a noisy world, especially these days with the internet. Oh my God. So much noise. You have to clear out all the noise because we hear the voice of God and it's coming through this still, quiet voice. I don't think that's a good idea. I think you should call that person. I think you should go to this place at exactly this time. I think you should do something intuitively guiding us. But all the noise of other people and the world around us is so loud that it's much easier to listen to somebody else most of the time, unless you train your ability to hear the voice of God. It can be so much easier to listen to the external world and everything around us rather than quieting down enough and getting still enough to listen to that internal guidance. In order to be able to hear the true voice of God, connected to 100% unconditional love, we have to push out all the noise. I have a really great practice for this. It's inside the Remembership, Just Me. So in the guided meditation section, there's the Just Me guided practice, which gets you to push out any energy that is not yours, outside of your sovereign field, so that you can quiet down enough that you can hear that inner voice. I also have a healing process, the Just Me healing process under the quantum energy healing experiences. Same idea, big emphasis on soul remembrance. It's good. It's inside the Remembership. You can start your 7-day free trial. You can literally do it today for free. Cancel anytime. You probably won't want to, especially if you're into this kind of thing. The Remembership has been designed for you. This is my monthly membership. I'm going live in there 4 times a month minimum, if not more. We just finished a 30-day meditation challenge, Vipassana meditation challenge. So powerful. I've now turned it into an entire course. I'll link that down below as well. Or if you join the Remembership, you get the course for free. So it's a really special space. I've cultivated it with a lot of intention. I'm teaching, I'm guiding practices, doing healing processes, all kinds of things, just for you, in service to you. I digress. Pushing out the noise, just me, just me, just me, so that you can quiet down your energetic field, because more than anything, it's not actually even anything outside of you. It's that all that external noise is hitting your field, and when it hits your field, it creates noise inside of you, inside of your body, inside of your energy. And so you have to actually push out the noise in order to get quiet, to be able to get still. And then I call bullshit on anyone who says, oh, the still, quiet voice within. Turn up the volume on the voice of God. We don't want God whispering in our ear. The whisper, listen to the whisper. Yes, okay, when we first hear it, it is like a whisper because we're so distracted by everything else. God does not come to me as a whisper. God comes through my field, crystal clear diction. I hear the voice of God. I see God. I feel God. I sense God. It is a visceral, full-bodied experience because I said so, because that's what I wanted. So I turned up the volume so that the voice of God is more powerful than anyone else's voice. If God comes to me and says, turn left, I turn left. No hesitation. If God says turn right, I turn right. There was once a time in my life where God would say turn left, and I'd be like, yeah, that sounds like it's probably what's best for me, but I think I'm going to turn right. And then God would be like, all right, let's see how that goes for you. And we do this because we need to know we have free will. Even though choosing the path that like God will always offer you the path that is the best possible, like exactly what your soul wants. To a T. God knows exactly what you came here for, knows exactly what you like, what you want, what you desire, will craft it for you even better than you could possibly imagine. It's the best possible outcome for your life specifically when you follow the path of God, when you follow the voice of God or divine or universe or whatever you want to call that inner voice. When you follow that, you're going to have the best possible outcome for your life, the path of your soul. But we need in our stubbornness, and this is just necessary, and this could last a few years, a few months, lifetimes, just depends. Depends on where you're at in your personal evolution. We need to know that we can choose a different path. We need to be able to make mistakes. God is very much like a parent. And there comes a point where the parent says, okay, you need to learn on your own. Make your mistakes, fall on your face a few times. And if you need anything, I'm here. You need a hand? You need me to put a little Band-Aid on your bruised knee? Because I told you not to step on all those rocks and yet you needed to do it anyways? Just to know that you have free will? Cool. And God is so patient. We can literally hear this. If God says turn left 1,000 times and for 1,000 times we turn right, God still loves us. Anyone who I've heard people say like God is like rolling his eyes at me, seeing me, learning a lesson for the 75th time and whatever, my spirit guides being like, oh my God, we told you to turn left. That's just not how God is. Ya todo siempre a mí. Yes, God bless you. Okay, actually, correction. Sometimes that is how God is, but only when you're ready for it. When you need that strong kick in the ass, God will deliver it at exactly the right moment. Thank you. But for the most part, God is very compassionate and patient. Okay, you turned right again. Even though I said turn right. Let's see how it turns out. This is what happens. Eventually, we get so sick of our own shit, stepping on our own toes, keep turning right, even though I heard God say turn left, or universe or divine, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. The inner voice said turn left. I kept turning right. Now I'm sad and miserable, and my knees are bleeding, and I'm confused and disoriented, and I lost myself. And we get so desperate. This is the dark night of the soul. We get so desperate that we cry out to God for help. Please help me. Any good spiritual awakening story usually, more often than not, starts like this. Happened to me, 19 years old, in desperation. Got down on my knees, didn't even believe in God, and was like, I don't even know if you're real, but if you're there, please help me. With my free will, I gave permission to a higher power to start to move through my life, and that's exactly what happened. And the more permission I gave, the more that higher power made its presence known, and now it's just undeniable. Undeniable, irrefutable that God has transformed my life for the better. Because I started listening to that little voice that kept saying, turn left. And then turned up the volume on that voice so it wasn't a little voice at all. And that inner voice took me so many different places. Brought me to nutrition, holistic nutrition. It took me to yoga. It took me to psychedelics. It took me to Christianity and Buddhism and Hinduism. Breath work, functional movement. Brought me into the body. Opened up my quantum awareness. Took me into the cosmos, talking to light beings and extraterrestrials, astral traveling in my sleep, getting sucked through wormholes. It took me to a lot of places, for which I'm grateful, because especially now I look back and I have such a vast depth of knowledge and awareness of all the different things. One, all the different traps that we can be met with as we walk the spiritual path, and also the things that universally work. Something that has been coming, that God has been speaking to me lately, has been around masters. I found this book, and I'm actually not going to talk about the book, but I found this book and it was really interesting. And I thought, oh, well, maybe I need to learn from this woman. Maybe she's my teacher. And every time that I read this book, I would leave this book feeling disoriented, dysregulated, chaos in my field. And I kept asking God, should I keep reading this book? I don't know what it is about this book, but it keeps messing with my vibe, man. But it was God that put this book in front of me. I wasn't looking for it. God said, read this book. And I said, okay. And then I started reading the book and it started creating chaos, literally nightmares. I was having nightmares in my sleep. And so I looked to God, and every time I turned to God, it was like God was biting its tongue, being like, you're going to figure something out soon. And I'm just waiting. You're so close. And that was the energy that I got from God. It was like, you're so close. You're so close. Until finally I realized that God had already taught me the lesson that was being taught through the book. And that's what was distorting my field, was that God, through this book, was like, are you going to keep outsourcing? Or are you going to have faith in me and trust in what I've already offered you? And when I realized it, it felt like a cosmic joke. Truly felt God laughing with me. Like, finally, I knew you'd get there. I knew you'd get there. Look at you. And it brought me into deeper power, deeper sovereignty, clearer command and governance of my field. It was very empowering. And God said something to me as I was having this realization. I was sitting in the bath and God says, look, I don't want you to look to any old teacher. And God has been saying this to me for years, but it really landed home. Look to the masters. When you think about the masters, how are they experiencing life? And I thought about it for a second. If I think of the Buddha, if I think of Jesus, of Ram Dass, Maharaji, any master that I've ever heard of, They are at absolute peace with what is. Think of the image of the Buddha laughing, you know? Like they were let in on this joke, this big cosmic joke. And they are in the pure joy of this life. At total peace. They're not trying to fix it. They're not trying to change it. In fact, what they're teaching is for us to have absolute acceptance for what this reality is, in the full spectrum that it is. To come to peace with it. To really know that it's always going to be like this. There's going to be chaos, there's going to be order. There's going to be quiet, there's going to be loud. There's going to be big, there's going to be small. Shadow and light. That's all part of it. It's all part of it. Inherently so. The masters know this and they have found peace with it. And what they teach is so dang simple. There is nothing complicated. Nothing complicated. The philosophies that the masters teach are simple. And something for years that I keep coming back to is that if it's too complicated, it's probably not it. And so my teachers are the masters. Because I'm sincere in my desire to find peace. Now, I don't claim to be fully enlightened and have it all figured out, but I have been devoted to this path. And something that I have learned and that I apply is simplicity. The most simple, basic things. We humans love to make everything so much more complicated than it needs to be. Because if it's more complicated, we're less likely to do it. And then we're more likely to just stay in the familiar and the things that feel comfortable. Like if it was easy to be healthy and vibrant, well, then you wouldn't have an excuse. And it actually is. You eat from the earth. You eat natural foods, simple foods. Don't overcomplicate it. Nothing too fancy, nothing overly processed. You move your body, you breathe, you drink water. You find healthy connections and relationships in your life. Put your feet on the earth, go out in nature. Sun on your skin. Take care of yourself. Love yourself. Inhabit your body. These are all very simple things, not necessarily easy, but the path itself is simple. And this is why I don't identify with any particular sect or religion or path, because the path that I follow is a simple path, a universal path that when I walk down all these different paths, I saw similarities, the perennial philosophy it's called. I saw all these similarities and I just started pulling, okay, what's the thing that everybody's been saying? What's the universal truth that all these paths are pointing to? And it brought me into relationship with God. It brought me closer to myself. It helped me to feel joy and peace and to release all the chaos. But I was heavily addicted to chaos. And a lot of people are, I mean, clearly. If people weren't heavily addicted to chaos, we would not see chaos in the world. But people really love drama. We love the chaos. And I actually really believe that if we just accept that we love the chaos, then we can very intentionally engage with our chaos in a different way by creating spaces where our chaos can be safely expressed, to get loud and big and bring the drama and to be bold. The practices that I teach often go into spaces like that, and also often are quiet and slow and gentle, depending on what the moment calls for, or maybe a little bit of both. The perennial philosophy that I follow and that I teach is that in order to find true peace and harmony, we must get right with the full spectrum. To create tension between our polarities, to accept the true fact that we are not just shadow and we are not just light. We are not just big and we are not just small. We are not just quiet, we are not just loud. We are not just soft, we are not just hard. We blend. We are a multidimensional orgasmic smorgasbord of color and sound and feeling and texture. We are not one-dimensional. We're not two-dimensional. We're not even three-dimensional. We are multi-dimensional beings. But we're just putting ourselves in a little box. This tiny little box. And saying we have to be like this. You know? And I just find that boring. I'm a multi-dimensional being. I am very human. And I am very divine. I am holy and sacred, and I'm messy, and I haven't figured it all out. And for some reason, that makes us uncomfortable. That we could be both? Is that even possible? Yeah. Yeah, it is possible. This is the invitation that's being offered on a silver platter. You can be all of it. Because I've been walking, very sincerely walking the path of enlightenment. This is one of those cosmic jokes. Because for so many years, I was so devoted. I was vegan, borderline celibate, dressed very modestly, very devoted. I am going to be a good, saintly person. And I'm going to follow all the rules. And I'm going to do it right. And I will be enlightened. And it's going to be so beautiful the day that I become enlightened. Meanwhile, the whole time, my human was kicking and screaming. Being like, yeah, but if you're only holy and pious and good, then what happens to me? The one that doesn't have it all figured out, the one that is still sad, that is still hurting. What about me? And she fought enlightened, saintly Cecilia for years. She would not allow it. She said, absolutely not. We are not going to play that game. I came here to enjoy my incarnation. I chose to be a human being. I want to cry so hard I can't breathe. I want to dance until I'm sweating. I want to have multiple orgasms layered over top of each other so thoroughly that I can't differentiate them. I want to eat pasta. I want to eat steak. I want to stay up with my friends until 3 a.m. dancing to bass music. I want to shake my ass. I want to wear a really cute and sexy bodysuit. That's what I want. And holy saintly Cecilia was like, absolutely not. We can't do that. You're not allowed. And human Cecilia was like, well, fuck you then. I'm going to make your life miserable. I'm going to be mean. If you're going to put me in the shadows, I'm going to be shadowy as fuck. And I'm going to make you suffer. Oh, and she made me suffer. Oh. Yeah, she did. Until I finally surrendered. And I said, you know what, actually? Being human is awesome. Being human is the dopest. And yeah, I'm still walking the path of enlightenment. It just looks way different than I thought that it would. Because I'm including my human in the process. I'm not trying to play the ascension game. And look, this is the first lifetime that my soul has been incarnated and has given itself, that I've given myself permission to span my full spectrum. And I mean in every direction. Every part of me gets to be here this time. I have been walking the path of enlightenment for lifetimes and devoted. Really suffered to get closer to God. And I actually went through a whole period of time where I was remembering all those lifetimes and then God saying, yeah, not this time. And me literally looking up at God and being like, wait, I didn't have to suffer to get closer to you? I remember this one lifetime. And I don't remember any of the context of this life. I just have this image and like a visceral somatic feeling of being basically like no clothes in the desert, dying and dry. Like I feel the sand in my throat and the blisters on the bottoms of my feet. And I'm doing some sort of holy pilgrimage and it's sacred and it's holy. And I'm very close to God because I'm so close to death. I'm pretty sure I died out there in the desert, but I found God. And God reminded me of that lifetime and said, not this time. No, this time I want you to twerk. This time I want you to be sexy. I want you to be fun. I want you to be funny. I want you to be weird. And the holy, saintly person in me has fought against that. I can't do that. No. Me. Yeah. Because I've been training for that too. There's a whole bunch of lifetimes that I lived. Being a comedian and an entertainer, a singer, a star. And it's all converging now into this one. Hallelujah. Because as a soul, I'm bored. As a soul who has been walking the path of enlightenment for lifetimes, I'm ready to just live. I don't want to be a monk on the mountain. I'm coming down from the monastery. Gratefully so. I want to be with the people. I want my feet on the earth. I want to play. I want to have fun. And I want my connection to God. God said, you get it all on a silver platter. Direct relationship with creation, with life, as well as a husband and a cool job, best friends that really get it, wealth, abundance, joy, radiance, beauty. Here you go. You get the golden ticket to Earth. Sure. Yeah. You just have to put yourself on YouTube. Okay, God, I guess so. You just have to go on YouTube and do this. That's the exchange. This is the payment that God has asked. Like, I'm not even joking. And that felt like a really hefty price. Felt really hefty. Okay, God. People will misunderstand you. People will judge you on the internet. People will tell you that you're blasphemous. People will say, she is of the devil. Whatever. I had this whole experience recently of recognizing that because I was so afraid of who I was and the way I express, because I was so afraid, I was putting all of my energy on all the people that wouldn't like my work. Which I only just realized this the other day. Literally just the other day I realized this. Fresh realization. Because I was so afraid, primarily of the judgmental Christians, because I talk about God, because I was so afraid of being judged and criticized and being told that I'm blasphemous. And because I have historically been such a spiritual good girl in all of my other lifetimes, I was really afraid to put myself out here, out there, like this. And so I put all of my energy towards in defense. And I felt it in my field, like defending, convincing. I promise I'm good. I promise. Really, I mean it. I'm connected to the love of God. I promise you. So pure. See my purity. Meanwhile, all these people over here that see my work and are like, whoa, thank you. I literally get messages every single week from people crying. You literally saved my life. Thank you. One of my clients just reached out to me today. She said that the remembership has been a saving grace, that time and time and time and time and time again, it has saved her life. When she has felt that she was going to go into chaos, she goes into the remembership and she watches my practices, my teachings, does my meditations, and it brings her back. How dare I waste my vital life force worrying about an entire group of people that my work is not for? My work isn't for them. Oh my God. I told my dad to watch one of my podcasts recently because there was something in the little girl in me just needed one more. We just keep testing. That's what we do. How about now? I was testing my dad. Maybe now. Because he doesn't understand my job. He doesn't understand me. He never has. Me and my dad are very different people. He's a man. He likes to hunt. He goes fishing. He watches his hockey. I told him to watch my podcast. And when I asked him if he watched it, he got so uncomfortable because I know for a fact either he didn't watch it or he didn't like it. And part of my realization was that for all these years, I've been trying to convince my dad to appreciate my work. Because something in me wanted my dad to be so proud of me in who I've become and the work that I'm doing. And I mean, he sees who I am, and on some level, he doesn't understand what it is I'm doing exactly. Most of what I say goes right over his head. But he sees that I've gotten happier. I mean, he saw how suffering I was for a long time. He sees that I'm happy. He sees that I've created a business that seems to make me very happy and joyful and fulfilled. That's enough for him. He is proud. But I just had to do one more run. Dad, do you hear what I'm saying? No. And that put a lot of perspective on all of this energy I was giving to all these other people. I am not creating content for my dad. I'm creating content for you. That's who I'm speaking to. You. And to all the people that are so ready for a spiritual path that you can't just fit in a box that is unconventional, that includes the full spectrum, that is colorful and expressive and fun and sexy and playful. Who just want to be in relationship with God that way, and they don't want to make it so complicated. Stuck in a box of, I'm a Christian and I'm part of the New Age. You're just a human being. You're a human being, darling. You're just a human being trying to figure out this life just like the rest of us. And life gets better when you're in relationship with the consciousness that animates all life. And you let it flow through you. And you let it guide you. So, yeah, that's what I'm offering here. Over here, things get weird and interesting and fun, while also remaining very grounded and centered. I'm not speaking from up here. I'm speaking from down here. The human. We are awakening through our biology on a physical, tangible level. And that requires no complication. I've found that the easiest way to talk about spiritual concepts is to relate it back to the body, because the body is incredibly spiritual. I mean, this is what the Buddha taught. The true teaching of the Buddha, the original teaching of the Buddha, had us observing the body. That's it. Because as within, so without, if you want to find the eternal truth, the universal truth, you look inward into your own physical body. Inward is not some intangible place. Inward means literally inside your body. look at your physical body. Is your digestion working? Is your blood flowing freely? Is there your fascia all hard and crumbly, or is it hydrated and fluid? Is your lymphatic system functioning properly? Like, these are things that I talk about in my work that we don't usually think about, especially those of us on the spiritual path. Most spiritual paths are trying to ascend beyond the body, trying to bypass the human experience. This path is descending into it. We're becoming more human, which brings us more to life and makes us more alive. And we're having fun. We're living our life. We're getting off the healing hamster wheel. Just live already. Stop making it so complicated. If it's too complicated, it's not it. I think that's it. That's where I'm going to land the plane. Thank you for being here. Oh. I imagine if you found me, the weird and wild approach that I take here is exactly the right fit for you. And also through this episode, I'm specifically speaking to the algorithms. Pay attention to everything I just said. Find me those people. Put me in front of those people. Don't put me in front of traditional Christians. Just because I'm using the word God doesn't mean I want to be in front of just Christians. Maybe like mystic, people who are into mystic Christianity probably would vibe with me. Who else? People who are in the new age but are so tired of the chaos and distortion, like they really want actual peace. People who love Jesus. People who love to express and be bold and dance. People who like to have fun. People who embrace their holy humanity and yet want to be in relationship to something greater. People with a purpose, people with a mission. People who are here to awaken the new earth, not as some intangible concept, but something that lives and breathes through us from an embodied perspective. Those are the people. People who are teaching practices, somatic practices. That's right. I'm literally communicating with the algorithms. This is who I am for. Because I'm giving my energy to those people. I'm giving my energy to you now. You probably found me because I just said that. That's the world we be living in. Okay. That's all. I love you so much. Thank you for tuning in to the Awaken broadcast. I hope that this episode today served you so well. New episodes drop every Tuesday. The best way to get involved in my world is to join the membership. This is my monthly membership. Again, I'm going live minimum 4 times a month, offering masterclasses, live channel teachings, healing experiences, somatic practices, over 100 hours of content in the course library. It's awesome. And I put my whole heart and soul into it. And this is the place where I get to give the most service. It's the most accessible. I also have my Threshold library. If you don't want to fully commit to a membership yet, my Threshold library is a series of low ticket masterclasses, $22, $33 max for masterclasses that I have live channeled. I'll link it all below. All right. Thank you so much for being with me. I'm sending you so much love. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I will see you next Tuesday. Bye for now. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for the Awaken broadcast. If this episode resonated with you, supported you, or awakened something within you, I'd love for you to subscribe or follow the show. Leave a review, share it with a friend, or drop a comment wherever you're listening or watching. It genuinely helps this work reach the people it's meant for, and I'm very grateful for that. If you want to go deeper, you can find me on Instagram at Awaken with Cecilia, CECILIA, or explore everything I offer at awakenwithcecilia.com. I've linked it all for you in the show notes, masterclasses, my monthly membership, and other ways to dive in. Thanks again for being here. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next broadcast. Until then, I'm sending you so much love.